The question of assimilation. Reactions of African American community. What is assimilation? It is to absorb and integrate people, ideas, or culture into a wider society. People of different backgrounds who come to see themselves as a part of a larger national family. In this case, it is the joining of African American and their cultures into white society.
After the Civil War, once the African Americans were freed, most of the slaves in the Upper South went to the Lower North. There they could own land and farmed and created families and communities of freed slaves. The freed slaves in the Lower South couldn't make it up to the North, so they moved to cities or stayed on farms. A few of them were able to get to the North, where they joined the communities of freed slaves.
In the novel Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, Douglass expresses his thoughts and opinions on the freedom of slaves and how he worked towards freeing slaves into the white community and how he dedicated his life to freeing these slaves and keeping them safe. The novel The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain also shows both black and white communities coming together. In this novel, a young white boy and a black man come together to free the black man from slavery, showing that society is changing. In this exhibit, you will be able to experience what life was like for an African American in the 1800s during and after the Civil War. Here, you will see a journal written by a slave woman living on a plantation where she expresses her concerns about education. You will also see a newspaper from the time of the Civil War with headlines involving slavery, and lastly, a painting portraying the views of slaves and African Americans during the Civil War.
Throughout the years, assimilation created opportunities of progress for civil rights to both African Americans and whites, which led to the equally integrated country that we have today. In modern times, now more than ever, African Americans and whites have come together to share the burden of the past that have separated and restricted their cultural identity for so long. The African American history is so deeply weaved into the white society that it seems like being an American is like being partly African American due to its collision of cultures.